Hey everyone, welcome to Nerd Avengers. This is Jen Taub in for Mary Trump, who is busy on some top secret business. It's not so top secret. She is recording the audio for her new book that is coming out in September called, well, I think you know, Who Could Ever Love You? It is fantastic. I've had an advance read, and I think I shouldn't tell you to pre-order. She would probably be, cringing, but I'm telling you, pre-order before it sells out. So, welcome. Today, I have several of our nerds joining me. I will surprise you when they come on screen, and we are talking about the last 48 hours, which probably have been the most significant ones ever in the history of the Democratic Party, and also possibly the absolutely. I know we talk about being in an unprecedented era, but we are in an unprecedented era. And for the first time, I think that I've ever seen, the Democratic Party is in complete array. We are behaving like a coalition, similar to what happened in France, in order to crush the advance of fascism in the form of Donald Trump and his MAGA acolytes. Okay, let's dive in. Hey guys, I'm so glad to see you. This is, I think you can agree, some of the most invigorating, stressful, and unbelievable 48 hours of our lives. I want to start with Danielle, to ask you, Danielle, if you happen to have been on that call where there were
Mm.
44,000 Black women who raised $1.5 million dollars in 3 hours and just signal to all of us, we got this.
Yeah, so sadly, I couldn't get on the call because there were so many people on the call. I kept trying to refresh my Zoom, refresh my page, and I was, kicked off. And I will say to people, because there were a lot of other people that I know who were not able to be on the call, but I do know people who were on the call and said, Jen, that it was the most inspiring and uplifting conversation that they have been a part of, that like we are building something here. So I want to shout out Joteka Edie, who is the founder of We Win with Black Women, that launched that 44,000 woman call. And by the way, they had initially only set up the Zoom for 1,000 people, a thousand
It's
people,
incredible.
and then had to stop, call the president of Zoom and say, we need greater capacity. So following that, then Roland Martin, along with Bakari Sellers and others, yesterday did the Black Men for Kamala call that had over 50,000 men that signed up. And that has raised over, I think, 1.3 million and counting at this point. So now you have Shannon Watt of Mom's Demand and Every Town that is doing a call with white women.
This
You
is
have,
great. And by the way, for people who don't know, I'm sure
yeah,
you know her, but she's the Mom's Demand, which is, it deals with gun
huge.
violence. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. With gun violence, and the same thing with Every Town gun violence. They have a huge following. Shannon is incredible. And so now, I mean, she started out on Monday with a long thread, and I encourage people to follow her on Twitter, because I refuse to call it the other name, to follow her, because she started out with a thread saying, white women, we need to do a hell of a lot better than we did in 2016 and we did in 2020. Here are the ways that we can take action. So I'm so excited. And she said, we are going to follow the lead of Black women and we win with Black women, we need a call. And there is an AAPI call that is going to be happening. There is a queer call that is going to be happening. Like, it is setting fire. And it's for the first time, friends, I feel excited. I haven't felt hopeful or excited, and I couldn't tell you how many years.
This is incredible because, and I'm gonna move in a second to you, Waj, but because Danielle, when we were on the call, the emergency nerds on Sunday, we processed a lot of our emotion because we were, we're now kind of a little bit on the other side of that, but still going through this. And you mentioned, we have to face the reality, which is fabulous, that Kamala Harris represents so many different American identities. And let's be clear, we are a multiracial society. We are all striving, therefore, for a multiracial democracy. And this is, and Waj, because you are our token Asian representative on the call. I'm not gonna, everyone knows I'm joking. Waj and I are friends. He's, yes, trophy.
Lebanon is also a member of Asia.
Okay. So I would like you, Waj, to talk about, you tweeted some interesting stuff about some of the claiming her as a Desi. And I've already claimed, not only as a woman, but I have claimed Kamala as Gen X. So I don't care what you boomers say. She ain't no boomer. I don't care. October, it's so close to the line. But Waj, tell me about how you feel in your communities.
Yeah, so the Gen X people have been waiting. They've taken out their flannel shirts. They're playing Nirvana. They're like, it is our time. Everyone has passed us over. People don't realize Gen X have been passed over by the millennials and Gen Z, and the whole time there was just one bitter tear. And now they're like, she's ours. There's something really aspirational about Kamala Harris. And look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't worship politicians. I never have. To me, they're tools and servants of the people. They're not kings or queens. I follow the one that I can use to help people. And Kamala Harris, though, what has to be said is in the context of U.S. history, we are the bravest, we are the most free, we have the Statue of Liberty. We keep telling ourselves this narrative, this story, and we've only had one Black man as president, and this country lost its mind. And 51% of the population, women, this country, when given an option of a competent woman, regardless what you think of Hillary Clinton, versus a vulgarian, they're like, we'll go with the vulgarian. And, I am married to a woman, I have 2 daughters. And I remember when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden came out after they won, I said this on Sunday. I sat my 2 daughters down and I said, listen, this woman is the vice president. She's the second most powerful person. Her name is Kamala Harris. Her mother was Indian and we're Pakistani, but it was all one subcontinent. But she's this, and she's a woman. And look, her name is Kamala, and your name is Nuseba, and your name is Khadija, and she's brown skin like you. And it's important to see that this woman who looks like you, she's the second most powerful woman. Look at that. And in this country, inshallah, and I told my daughters, you too could be president. Why not? Always keep dreaming. And my mom, Nuseba, who at that time was, I think, like 5, she's like, okay, Baba, yeah. And then Khadija was like a baby. She's just like having fun. There is something deeply powerful about the image and the symbol. And also, I want to say that the journey that so many people before us came. And my parents, who came here thanks to the 1965 Immigration Nationality Act, my parents were immigrants, Daniel's parents were immigrants. For them, they had to partition their dreams. They had to, it was bite-sized. You could never have the full Snickers. You had to have only a little bit. And you had to smile with your white teeth. You had to be happy being the sidekick. You had to row the boat. And that was the American dream, Jen. You were not allowed to dream that big. And that was just the reality. You go in and you smile and you get the nice job and you're never supposed to be bold and you don't rock the boat. And then to see this progress where you see Kamala Harris, a woman of 2 immigrants, a Black man and an Indian woman with the name Kamala, sit there yesterday. I don't know if you all saw that 30-minute New Hampshire conference. It was amazing, right? And so as a South Asian,
Do you mean in Delaware? It was Delaware.
Delaware, excuse me. So as I saw someone say, the Black aunties are revved up. Desi aunties on WhatsApp are revved up. And I will say the final 2 things is Desi means South Asian. There have been some Hindu nationalists who hate me, by the way, and they're like, she's Indian, she's not Desi. And what I said yesterday was, I'm going to claim her as Desi, and you Hindu nationalists are going to get really pissed. I'm going to take your tears and use them as sugar in my chai, number one. And number two, speaking about joy, there is something really important here.
Mm-hmm.
See Monsters, Inc. This is a great reference. You know, the whole Monster City was powered by fear, but then they realized they switched to joy and laughter. It was even more powerful. And there's something about joy, laughter, and hope here that I think has re-energized America and the Democratic base. You know, we've been paralyzed by fear, very real fear. But we're like, oh, we can laugh again. We can have hope again. And that hope, Jen, I feel like if Democrats can ride this to the convention, this reminds me of 2008, but with more strength and urgency. And I think this could be the fuel that can give us victory and ward off fascism.
I completely agree. And when you mentioned joy, I have not read the piece by Michelle Goldberg in the Times, but I think it's entitled "The Politics of Joy," and it means so much. And Brian, I want to. Brian has some news about VP picks, but I want to hold off on that. Even though you've got some fabulous one-on-one intelligence, because I want to show, I'm going to ask you a question first and then we'll pivot to that. I'm going to ask everyone about this. So I have some clips from when Kamala Harris and Doug, her husband, he has a last name too, but I'm going to call him Doug, Emhoff, is when they showed up at campaign. He's a great guy. Campaign headquarters, and Joe Biden, literally at that point passed the torch with his voice. He called in on the phone, and there was a video of that. I got several clips from this. The one I want to show you is the one where I feel like she is making clear that she can bring unity to the party and that she's going to earn the nomination. Obviously, since she gave this talk, she literally did. She passed the 1,976 mark in terms of delegates. I'm going to play this and see if you have some thoughts and then ask you about her VP picks. So hold on.
And it is my intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win. So in the days and weeks ahead, I, together with you, will do everything in my power to unite our Democratic Party, to unite our nation, and to win this election.
Okay, that's just one clip. And Brian, the reason why I'm putting this to you to start with before the VP questions is I've known you for quite a while, and you have often commented, I can hear the sentences in my mind complaining about Democrats never do this, we never do that. And here she is saying, I'm going to earn this and I want to unite. Even as she's saying it, she was doing it with this kind of shock and awe that I have never seen. What are your thoughts on that, on this phenomenon of showing, not just telling?
I think she's got a strategy she has to proceed with that she started on, and we'll see where it goes. It could be a very historic occasion for not only the Democratic Party, but for the nation. But it's her strategy that's going to matter. Now, this morning, she's already issued an email going after Donald Trump and Project 2025. She sent that out as a press release. So she's pivoting to the issues that affect a lot of people. Early results from some of the calls that I've made to pollsters in the toss-up states where she is weakest show that there are people that were prior to her coming on board were more negative towards her than they are now. Now with the energy, and it's been only 48 hours, but they're saying, well, hey, wait a minute, let's see what she has to say, because they were used to listening to the entrenched ramblings of Donald Trump, and they knew what Joe Biden was about. But the fact that they're willing to listen at this point shows that she has an opportunity in those toss-up states to make up some real lost time that Biden had wasted, and that's the only way I can put it. The other thing is just to what Waja was saying earlier. It was James Baldwin who said, they keep telling you be patient, be patient. He goes, how much more patient should we be? But the thing that when you spoke about joy, Waj, the thing that really hit home was when James Baldwin said, it's love that holds it together. And there are so few people doing that, holding it together. So to that point, if she can touch into that, she's got a wellspring of people that will be listening to her, including, and I kid you not, my own brother-in-law, who is about as Trumper as they get out in mid-Missouri, said, well, my wife says I'm going to listen to her. So there's that tells me something right there. If you can get him to listen, then but that's half the strategy. The other half is she's got to be out in front of people more. And look, she will. She's younger. She's got the energy. But that's as my biggest complaint about the Biden administration was that they never put him out in front of the public. So all of this that happened about him not having energy, his debate performance would be a moot point if you just saw him once every 6 weeks. She's got less than 4 months to make up a lot of ground. So she's got to be everywhere and anywhere all at once. Excuse the reference to a Hollywood movie, but she's got to be everything and everywhere all at once. And I think she has the energy to do it. If we're going with,
go ahead.
No, if we're going to go with a Hollywood, I would say she's the comeback kid. But if you're going to make a Hollywood reference, I think and remember, everyone remember, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago when this campaign was beginning, there was talk of dumping her from the ticket. Now she's the last hope for the Democratic Party.
And I want to
has to be spot on.
I mean, the energy that we see, 30,000 new people signing up for the campaign, the two calls that we were just talking about, one organized with Black Women We Win and one with Roland Martin and Kari Sellers, we see that. We see the numbers, the amount of money that she has raised, and just the passion and joy and her laughter. Donald Trump hates being laughed at. We know this from the potato story. It's going to drive him crazy. And women love laughter. People love joy. I like
laughter.
I want to play for you guys and get your thoughts. Again, I'm holding off on the VP stuff for a moment on the substance. This is an excerpt from her talk yesterday, from VP Harris's talk yesterday in front of the campaign about the visions. We'll get to the contrast with Donald too, because that's obvious and it's fun, but I want to look at the vision. So let's play this.
For the future of our country. One focused on the future, the other focused on the past. Donald Trump wants to take our country backward to a time before many of our fellow Americans had full freedoms and rights. But we believe in a brighter future that makes room for all Americans. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. We believe in a future where no child has to grow up in poverty, where every person can buy a home, start a family, and build wealth, and where every person has access to paid family leave and affordable child care. That's the future we see.
Okay. Wait, Brian. No. I want to give me a sec. I want to go to Danielle Danielle. I'm used to Daniel nerd, legal nerds. To Danielle first, and then I'll go to you, Brian. Danielle, you commented in our private chat. Great line. A lot of great lines in there. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I first of all, I love her tone. Right. Again, we've been used to a lot of bumbling and stumbling, right? From both candidates for different reasons. And I think that to have the clarity, to have the precision in her message, but the great line for me was to the not only get by, but to get ahead, right? Is that we're not just talking about the bare minimum here. Right. We're not just with her campaign. She is signaling that we're not just talking about holding on for dear life, which is where we've been. Right. Basically, since 2016, we've been holding on for dear life. Right. To our health during COVID, to our democracy. Right. As the Supreme Court becomes weaponized and rips away our rights one session after the other. And so I think that when she says this, it resonates so deeply because we're tired of just getting by. We're tired of just holding on, right? We're supposed to be one of the quote unquote greatest nations on the planet, right? And so let's start acting like it. And so the steep contrast between being forward looking and saying that we can do this. They want to drag you to the 19th century where we didn't have rights, most of us, right? Where some of us, my ancestors, were still in shackles, right? So let us think about how, we look forward. And I think that's the optimism that we have been missing. That is the hopefulness that we have been missing. We've been so encapsulated in fear, right? And anxiety and in stress that to have this moment, like I said, my mother, who is an immigrant, a Jamaican, as Kamala Harris's father was Jamaican. It is hitting home with all of these different communities that haven't been able to breathe a sigh of relief in almost a decade.
I mean, I get the chills. I mean, this, it does feel like a movement. I feel, as we've talked about, like 2008 all over again, but more so. Brian, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please
No, that's
speak.
okay. No. I was just going to say, after you listen to her speak, I'd like to talk to a point that she brings up obliquely in what she said, but which we rarely talk about bluntly and specifically. Make America Great Again is the slogan. I want you to realize how racist that slogan is. And she points it out that when he says make America great again, he's going backwards to a time when many people didn't have rights, when a woman couldn't vote, when Black people and Jim Crow policy had taken over. All of that is inherent in making America great again. Who's he making America great again for? Rich white people. That's my ancestors. My grandfather came over here with squat and was told he was squat for years. He became a judge, and he did that on his own 2 feet. No help from anybody in a very Republican state. But it's nice to think that there's someone who understands exactly what Make America Great Again is, what it means, and how it affects the United States. The communication.
Right, it's moving backwards. Yep.
Yeah, the communication, again, the key, I think, for her to defeat Donald Trump in the fall is to make sure that she stays on point with what exactly Donald Trump and his movement and is about, and bringing up the Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation whenever she can. And when she speaks, hopefully, as Danielle said, it's nice to hear a politician speak in the future tense instead of in the past. Make America great again. What about making America great in the future, or greater in the future?
Improvement,
to your point, Danielle,
progress.
Yeah, we're supposed to be not one of the top nations. We're supposed to be the nation, the citadel on the hill for democracy, for everyone, for progressivism, for making sure that everyone has their own right, have their equal rights. And we have been woefully lacking under Donald Trump. This proves that perhaps Biden is the bridge to the future with what he said. And the fact that she's able to secure those delegates means that at least if they're going to avoid a huge floor fight. I don't know what Gretchen Whitmer is saying, and I don't really care. But going forward, if she can avoid that floor fight, she can get the Democrats in line. They've got a real chance for something here that hasn't been done in any of our lifetimes.
Thank you. Waj, I know you've got some breaking news. But you also have a lot to say. So tackle either your reaction to this, the vision, or please about the news.
Yeah. Well, two things. The first news is that President Biden will address the nation at 8 p.m. Eastern Wednesday on his decision to drop his 2024 Democratic presidential bid. That was from Associated Press. The reason for that timing, it's big breaking news. But you know who else is visiting the United States of America tomorrow? Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. And folks, I'm telling you, President Biden just got out of meeting Bibi by also announcing this. And Kamala Harris also is not joining his alleged joint session. She will meet with him in private. And we've had some Democratic senators already come out, and like Bernie Sanders and others, say that they're not going to meet him. And the way
To be
this all
clear, she was going to be out of town anyway, which is how I think she's threading that needle. But yeah.
Yes, she's going to be out of town anyway. Yes, but the reason why this all ties in together is you're seeing the pivot.
Indianapolis.
A small pivot, but a pivot nonetheless, right? So if Joe Biden was the transitional president, Joe Biden's job was to protect the nation from a dictatorship. Joe Biden put himself out in front. You know, he wasn't going to run, but he's like, I'm the guy to do this right now because it's such a unique threat to our democracy. And America believes that I might be the right one to stop this threat, right? So I kept saying this analogy. You know, if you've ever seen the movie Dunkirk, or if you know World War II history, they said survival is victory. Our job was to survive. And we survived. Not only did we survive, I think when all is said and done, you'll see the remarkable transformation of Joe Biden from 2008, I'm old enough, to 2024 Joe Biden, where he saw the moment and he became, in a way, much more progressive than I think people have given him credit for. But once they analyze, Jen, his policies, you'd be like, he was the transitional president. I remember I said this 4 years ago on CNN, that's his job. He has the old guard, I'm not using that as a pejorative, and the new guard. The new guard, like you and Danielle said, multiracial, multicultural, young and progressive, right? He has to tie them together and hold it for just enough for us to survive this onslaught, this threat of authoritarianism. And who does he have? Kamala Harris. He has this young Black woman, a daughter of immigrants, right there. And Danielle and I, on our show Democracy-ish, which is on Mary Trump Media, I had to do it, I'm sorry.
And please, no, it's good. It's right here. And if you don't want to miss alerts about that show, you can subscribe to Mary Trump Media, our channel here, for free. Just do it now so you won't miss them.
And you know, we have been saying for 2 years on that show. Like,
oh, sorry, wait. Let me cut you off. Yeah. Brian also has a new show that comes out every Saturday called Reverse Shot about the media. Okay, continue.
And Jen has morning
on Mary Trump Media.
Everybody knows. Okay, stop.
What Danielle and I have been saying for 2 years nonstop is Democrats, you have the secret weapon. Her name is Kamala Harris. She is the VP. Unleash her. And I can't gaslight you folks. All of a sudden, all these people are now behind Kamala. For 2 years, they were hiding her in a box, terrified of her because she's a woman, because she's a Black. What will Chet in the Rust Belt say? And we kept saying, unleash her. Woman, Black woman, young, dynamic. This is the base. But like I said last time, Democrats are terrified of their own shadow because their shadow is Black. So you have this transition now. And what we've seen, Jen, so far is, inshallah, let's cross our fingers. I never sleep on white supremacy and misogyny in America. For now, the last 2 days, Democrats have united. But, Bond villains always do their work. So we have to strengthen this coalition. And this transition will be very interesting, Jen. And I do think, can I say this about Gaza? I think President Biden is now thinking about his legacy. I think the Democratic Party is paying attention to what's happening with Netanyahu, how he has given the middle finger to Democrats and Biden for 9 months. I think this will be he will cap his legacy this way. And he says, I'm going to make sure they end this war and there's going to be ceasefire. And I think Kamala can then push it forward. Inshallah, if she wins, towards something more humane. That's my take. How to combine this together.
I certainly hope so. I mean, even Benjamin Netanyahu, who I'm not any kind of fan of, and I think he's done a terrible job. And we've talked about that in our show that we had for a while, Muslim and a Jew. I think even Bibi Netanyahu can see which way the wind is blowing, and all of a sudden, Donald Trump is no longer the sure bet. And Joe Biden has no interest in appeasing him in order to get reelected. So there's that. I also want to comment, Waj, and what you're saying. I think people mistake, not you, but, I live in Michigan now, a flyover state, the Midwest. We don't consider ourselves the Rust Belt. And even though we're the Midwest, we're in the Eastern time zone, blah, blah, blah. But at any rate, we are diverse. I don't know why people think just because you're from the Midwest, you're like, Whitey McWhitey, like we are diverse, our families are diverse, and we love seeing this. And, women all over the country, we were burned, even though we know a majority of white women did not support Hillary, plenty of them did. And we all are, the next generation of voters are white voters are much more diverse in our families and our friendships and so on. So, I will add that what I want to do is talk a little bit about Donald Trump's recent meltdown, and to set this up before I give the reaction. I'm gonna before I show you what MAGA's meltdown looks like. I want to just show you this lovely tweet from Michael Steele. And as you know, Michael has gone through his own journey. Wasn't he at one point chair of the RNC? And I talk about keeping someone in a box.
Friend, and he's a great guy.
Oh, well, let me speak it. Wait, there's something else that I had just remembered. When you're all talking about how, and I saw Danielle nodding when Waj was saying, they should have unleashed Kamala earlier. Am I wrong to see the parallel here between Kamala and Meghan Markle and the, U.S. government and the royal family, in that, think about how great Markle was doing with the Commonwealth, and they just shut her down. We should not make the same mistake about where the world is and where we all want to be. Okay, here we go. So I love this. So as you can see, it's Michael Steele. He tags Donald Trump, who's never here on Twitter, but he'll be shown it. Hey, real Donald Trump, you ready for this? And it is, I don't think she's in a Wonder Woman outfit, but you might know. What superhero outfit is that, Waj?
That's
Captain America.
Okay, sorry.
That's the new Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this. I want to be this, right? This is my Halloween
shield was the giveaway,
costume.
Jen. The shield was the giveaway.
I'm not as good at these. I'm not a real nerd if I don't know these things. So she's fierce, right? The thing about Donald in his trying to be authoritarian, there's a lot of physicality to it. Kamala is no shrinking violet, right? She's strong, she's beautiful, she's brainy, and the most important thing in terms of how she's going. And she's a prosecutor, right? So she knows how to say a point and bring the evidence, make a point and bring the evidence. And so I want to show you I call it the prosecutor versus the perp. Some people call it the prosecutor versus the felon. Whatever your flavor is.
Felon.
That's too. Let's look at what she said here.
As many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. Before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
What is she talking about?
Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his. As a young prosecutor, when I was in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office in California, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Donald Trump was found liable by a jury for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges and put it out of business. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college, Trump University, that was forced to pay $25 million to the students it scammed. As district attorney, to go after polluters, I created one of the first environmental justice units in our nation. Donald Trump stood in Mar-a-Lago and told big oil lobbyists he would do their bidding for a $1 billion campaign contribution.
I mean, play that to me every single day. I could listen to that, 3 or 4 times a day. Danielle, you're just nodding, and you look so serene.
Which is like not my norm. So I'm enjoying this moment. But being able to listen to her rattle off just straight facts. Remember those? Remember when we got clear, straight facts about who Donald Trump is and what he has done? Nothing that she's saying is slander. When she says that I have prosecuted people like this before, he is an adjudicated sex offender, right? He is a fraudster. His Trump University was shut down by Tish James, right? He was found to have lied about his real estate properties, right? Again, by Tish James. And so these things are facts. Donald Trump has to rely on a series of lies and slanders and belittling and all of these things because there is nothing of substance and of note to come at this woman with. When they're putting out their letter for have their talking points on Kamala Harris, they're talking about her laugh and they're talking about her love of like diagrams and concentric circles. That's their reach right fucking now. Right. And so it's so incredible because like we've been saying for so long, Donald Trump just telling the truth, doing what the headlines and the New York Times and the Washington Post have failed to do, which is just tell the American people about what he has done, right? About what he has been convicted of, what he has been charged with. And you can go all the way back, right, to him and his father and their racism as it pertained to housing and denying Black people and people of color housing in New York City. You can go back to his full page ad to call for the death of the now exonerated 5. You can go to his we don't want people from shithole countries, right? Talking about African nations. Like you can just run the receipts, which is what I have been saying for so long. Run the receipts on him. And now we have somebody who is clear and measured in their tone and can do it with a smile on her face, right? That is genuine and be like, I've been in courtrooms with these people before. And I love what people are saying right now, which is that she is the prosecutor, he is the felon, and in November, we are the jury, right? That is it. She is the prosecutor, he is the felon, and in November, we the people are the jury.
So we have to, Danielle, but she is a cat lady. Didn't you hear that?
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
But that to me, I just have to say really quickly.
Well, he's a moron.
But the friggin' reach here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the reach here. Again, you have to remember what is the what's the event that they do? The quote unquote Christian event. The
prayer breakfast.
The prayer breakfast and the thing. Is it CPAC?
Yes,
CPAC. Whatever it is that they do, where a young woman had stood up in the audience at their most recent convention, and she was going to school to become a doctor. And one of the people that were speaking at this convention, the Republicans, said to her, I want you to go and hold a baby and see if you still want to become a doctor after that. Right? Like this is what it's called turning point. That was
yes.
The
oh God.
It was Turning Point, where they had all these young women there, right? Who are university students, grad students, this professionals, what have you. And this man looked at this woman that said that she's going to school to become a surgeon and told her to go hold a baby. That's what they think about women, right? We are nothing but incubators for them. And so when you have the juxtaposition of somebody saying, well, she's a cat woman, because by the way, she's also a stepmother, but I guess that doesn't count either.
Right. They don't want anyone to have abortions, but they don't want children to be adopted or have step parents. That's crazy.
Yeah. And
Well,
so
they're
go ahead,
hypocrites.
Brian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, they're just hypocrites. I mean, J.D. Vance, I'm going to say it again. He has all the political acumen of a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman and all the integrity of a white shoes-wearing used car salesman at a discount car lot in Pikeville, Kentucky. He's a moron.
Tell us how you really feel.
Why disrespect those two professions?
Well, only the discount car salesman. But here's white shoes wearing, Herb Tarlick. But the thing is, J.D. Vance is the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump, because he doesn't reach out to anyone other than the hardcore MAGAs, and they're going to have to look. They lost the last election. They lost it. So he thinks Donald Trump has made a monumental and fundamental mistake in this election, particularly with Kamala Harris now in it, with Kamala Harris in this race. He has told everyone that he only needs MAGA to win. And that's a huge mistake, because he's not reaching out to the people in those toss-up states who are now ready to listen to Harris.
And they want, people
Trump.
said this, right? I mean, people said, why are we voting for the same people? These two, and I'm not ageist. I'm reflecting what my kids say. They're old. Even Kamala Harris.
That 60 is young now. I'm going out and playing tennis with my rock band later. I'm young again.
She's in her 50s. These folks have had their say for so many years. That's how the young generation feels. But also, their one card to play was, well, Donald Trump may be a lying, crooked, abusive, racist felon, but at least he doesn't. At least he isn't too old and frail. Okay, that's gone. And now having J.D. Vance, who hates women, the contrast, and expresses such disdain for women, thinks they should stay in abusive, violent marriages, wants to ban a nationwide ban on abortion, thinks that there should be no exception for rape or incest, because, if a 10-year-old gets pregnant, it's not the fault of the baby if she's forced to give birth, the violence of that. Let's pivot to let's hope that Kamala does not choose someone like J.D. Vance as her running mate. I'm going to play you what we're hearing. The list constantly changes, and I'm going to go to you, Brian, because I know you've talked to some people.
The potential list includes many of the nation's Democratic governors and even a former astronaut. National correspondent Dan Grossman has more.
A handful of Democratic governors are being thrust into the national spotlight as potential running mates for now candidate Kamala Harris. Roy Cooper and Gretchen Whitmer are two names you'll likely hear in the VP conversation this week. Cooper is the current governor of North Carolina, serving his second term, and Whitmer has served as Michigan's governor since 2019. Both could help shore up support in their respective swing states. Josh Shapiro is another one. He's the current governor of Pennsylvania, the swing state with the most electoral votes up for grabs with 19. Shapiro has only been in office since the start of last year, but he's a popular figure as he is Pennsylvania's highest vote getter in gubernatorial history after winning 2022's election by 15 percentage points. There's also chatter that Andy Beshear could make the short list of VP candidates. At 46, Beshear is young and has won the gubernatorial race in the deep red state of Kentucky twice. While unlikely to flip how his state votes this November, the Thomas B. Fordham Institute describes Beshear as a moderate Democrat. Then there's retired astronaut Mark Kelly, who has served as a Democratic senator for the swing state of Arizona since taking over John McCain's seat in 2020. Kelly has deep ties to the military, having served in the U.S. Navy as a combat pilot, and is married to former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. J.B. Pritzker is also making his name known. The Illinois governor is the wealthiest politician in the country after founding the Hyatt hotel chain, which could come in handy on a shortened campaign. Pritzker has also been known to not hold back punches when speaking about opponent Donald Trump. Lastly, there's political newcomer Wes Moore, who serves as Maryland's 63rd governor. Only the third black governor in U.S. history, Moore served in Afghanistan from 2005 to 2006 before becoming a successful entrepreneur who sold his businesses to help students transition to college. Dan Grossman, Scripps News, Denver.
I've heard others to that list, including Gavin Newsom. That's not going to happen.
Let's go through. I'm going to go through and say, I want to know who your VP fighter is, but let's cross the people off who've already said it's not me. Newsom said no. Whitmer said no. Right. I'm not sure if Wes Moore said no or he's being coy
Wes
or
Moore's not on the short list. He's an outside candidate at this point. He's new to Maryland. He is a rising star in the Democratic Party, but does not have what I at this point, I don't think he'd be what she would put on.
Well, he said he
on
wasn't. He didn't want to do it last night. He's not. So who is on the short list that you know, and who have you spoken with, Brian?
All right, so that leaves 5. That leaves Pritzker, Shapiro, Beshear, Cooper, and Kelly. And the 3 that I have picked, after talking with all 5 of these people or their people in the last day or two, trying to get a good grasp on what's going on. Kelly, Beshear, and Cooper are the 3 on the short list.
That's what I've heard.
Pritzker is not. Shapiro is not. She's looking for someone who can help shore up those votes in the toss-up states. The favorite at this point that I can find is Kelly, with Beshear second, Cooper third. Cooper comes from the Carolinas and is a Southern boy, Beshear is from Kentucky and a Southern boy. They're kind of 2 of the same, and that leaves Kelly. The reason why Kelly is liked at this point is because of his
He's
resume.
an astronaut.
And he's and and he can stand up to it, basically that's it. And he can stand up
been
and
to outer space, so that's
he's kryptonite, right?
There.
So
But
my kid, Brian, I just want to say
people-
this thing, and I'm going to turn back to you. But my teenager, Emily, she's also a physics major, interested in obviously space issues, but although she's studying like nanoparticles or whatever, neutrinos. Anyway, she immediately said, "Oh yeah, Kelly would be great." And, she's far to the left, but she thought, oh, Kelly would be great. And she's read that Republicans think he's kryptonite. My only concern is he's a little older than Beshear, but Bashir is a little hokey. Anyway, what's your Brian? Who do you think she's going to pick, or who do you want? And then I'll go to Waj and then Danielle.
I know the Beshear people very well. His father gave and I think it was during the Bush administration, gave the Democratic response to the State of the Union message. He was former governor of Kentucky. Kentucky is deceptively red. My uncle was the Senate Majority Leader, as a Democrat for years.
Well, my Uncle Leon was something or other, right? They knew each other. Yeah. Uncle Leon Shaken.
Yeah. So it's deceptively red. He is a moderate Democrat with a lot of power in that state, and is thought of well in the Democratic Party. Danielle pointed out some of the things that he said on Shitter. That's my new name for Twitter, by the way. It's Shitter. Actually,
you know what? Please, we have to try to watch the profanity. Oh, I'm kidding.
No.
I was like, wait, what? Am I fired?
What's happening? Is there a new policy?
Fuck that policy.
Oh, hello. Not that. So anyway, I stole it from House Sparks, by the way. But anyway, but I think it's going to boil down. Those 3, Mark, Kelly, all of them bring something to the table. And the thing that she needs to the table, and it's going to be up to her to this. And Shapiro, of course, is, if you're going to add a 4th, but I don't think Shapiro has the inside track for that, because I think someone from the South does. And that's Arizona, North Carolina. Arizona brings a lot of electoral votes. Mark Kelly can help out with what is, in essence, a toss-up state. North Carolina and Kentucky are not toss-up states at this point. So if you're going just by the Electoral College, it would seem to favor Kelly. If you're going to go with a Southern guy with upcoming, star of the Democratic Party, you're going with Cooper or Beshear, and Beshear would have that inside because he's been around a little bit longer and has a better reputation among the party members. But that's just all conjecture. She could, as long as she doesn't pick J.D. Vance or Mike Pence, I'm fine with it.
So okay, Danielle, of the top 3 or of any of the group that you think is still a contender, what's your thinking? Who could hit the ground running? Who could govern? And also, who could crush J.D. Vance and the whole MAGA movement?
Well, they all.
I think that Brian's grandson could probably take on J.D. Vance. Like
he definitely doesn't like Trump.
Right. We saw him run up on him. So like, I feel like he could run up on J.D. Vance. But but seriously, I think that, look, the list is impressive, right? Like this is, again, something that we should be really proud of. Yeah, that we should be really proud of as Democrats, that our list is impressive. Their list was fuckery, right? You had DeSantis and his robotic laugh and his inability, to connect, right? We thought about Nikki Haley, which probably would have been the best choice, right? Even though I don't like her and I think she has the integrity of attack. But I think for me, in the list, I think that I would go with Mark Kelly, because I would go Mark Kelly, Arizona, astronaut, combat vet, he gun gun reform. He is the husband of Gabby Giffords, who was shot, and and has been an advocate. And because of their foundation, I think that he covers a lot of bases.
Plus, he has a twin brother who could be a stand-in in an emergency.
And then has a twin brother who's also an astronaut, right? So I think that I think that he is, to me, is the most hits a lot of points. I don't know if I want Shapiro to leave Pennsylvania. I think that I want him to stay in Pennsylvania. I think that he could be more effective when the election comes around. Yeah, when the election comes around, for him to be able to hold that state. So that's why I would just say no to him. I think that Bashir is great, and he's doing really good as a surrogate right now on the news. I put in our private chat that he was on CNN, and he said something to the effect, talking about JD Vance, that he has absolutely no conviction, and he said, but his running mate has 34, and I was just like, oh shit, mic drop. But you will not get Kentucky, right? So is that we're not going to win the state of Kentucky? So is that like a win for her in that way? When I think that he could just be on the campaign trail in the South, as a son of the South. So and then Wes Moore, that's a newer name that was floated. Again, he just became governor of Maryland. I think I want him to stay in the governor's mansion in Maryland, and kind of pull that DMV Virginia area to Maryland Virginia connection together. So I think I'd like him to stay there as well.
DMV, I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
Oh, I lived there for what, 15, 16 years. That's what we call it.
Okay, I'll listen more carefully, people.
She nailed that one.
Waj, how about you?
So if Kamala Harris runs with a coconut tree, I will choose Kamala and the coconut tree over Trump and Vance, because that's how bad Vance is. And, these are the small victories in life. But I went back and looked at my tweet the day that Vance was announced, and yep, still fresh. I said, terrible pick. And in all seriousness, before we get to the choose your VP fighter for Democrats, I'm very curious if Nikki Haley and Tim Scott are standing by the phone right now. Because internal rumblings from the Trump campaign, as reported by Rachel Maddow, they're immediately regretting this. He was Peter Thiel's pick, the billionaire's pick. He has the charisma of Lettuce. Actually, I think Lettuce has more charisma, but I think he might be stuck with him. So this was a self-inflicted wound. And I know Mercedes says we have 8-1, but breaking down that VP list, what I was thinking about last night is my top 3, based upon what we know, is Kelly, Bashir, and Cooper. It all depends upon what direction the Democratic campaign wants to go to. First and foremost, who actually vibes with Kamala Harris? Who does she like? What's the partnership? That's up to her. If you want to go the safe Biden/Obama route, then you go for Cooper, 67, white male, extremely experienced, North Carolina, safe. Could he change? He probably could. But does it really galvanize people? I don't think so. Mark Kelly, the reason why some Democrats are a bit afraid, they told me on the deal, but I pushed back, is, man, he sits there and he says he's friends with Republicans and he's going to be he's going to reach out to them and he's not as progressive as Kamala. Well, go back to 2008. Joe Biden, now compared to Joe Biden 2024, I do think Mark Kelly, if he does choose to do it, he will be forced to become, if you will, more quote-unquote progressive. But for this election, if he could get you Arizona, and also let's not forget Arizona, folks, is a border state. So they're going to talk about immigration. I'm Mark Kelly. I'm an astronaut from Arizona. Don't talk to me about the border. What the F do you know? That'll be huge. I do like Bashir. Bashir is the bolder pick. Kamala, Bashir. And what Bashir does, and he had another great line, was basically he did his own Kentucky version of Kendrick Lamar's They Ain't Like Us. He did that against JD Vance. He's like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just used to come here for the summer. He ain't like us. He can invalidate whatever JD Vance has conjured up with Hillbilly Elegy, and he goes, that's bullshit, that's fraud, that narrative is nothing. I'm a son of the South, and I can reach out, and this is a ticket between the coast and the South. Black woman, white man, together around shared values. That's a really powerful narrative. Healing and growth. Can you imagine that? And that's a bold ticket. So that's where I'm at right now. Now that I'm gaming it out, I would like to go for Kelly or Bashir.
Yeah, and I think I used to be more Bashir. I'm now more Kelly because I was watching Bashir the other night, criticize JD Vance of not really being Appalachian and not being from Kentucky and et cetera. But then someone said, yeah, but I don't know if it was a debate with him or if it was someone else saying, yeah, but your father was governor. And that's, so there's a little bit of a sense of he's this wealthy guy and his father was governor and then he became governor. Oh, they're not?
No.
Okay.
They're about as working class as you can get. It's Kentucky. Nobody's wealthy in Kentucky.
Okay. So I feel better about that. I think whoever she vibes with, Bashir is young. He's in his 40s. Kelly isn't super old. He's 60. Which means, and I don't mean this again, this isn't about ageism. This is about could he serve, we're talking about many years out. Also, if something should happen to Kamala, could he step up? My concern about Kelly, the one concern about him had been not about him not being progressive enough, but about has he had executive experience because he's been a senator, right? And then I realized, my God, if you've been in space, you know how to execute stuff. You know how to work right? But he hasn't run a budget, right? It's a different phenomenon. So that's my only.
What friggin' experience do these fools have?
No, but I actually want someone who's qualified because we're going to win. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm leaning. I'm definitely leaning toward the astronaut.
Yeah, don't forget.
The astronaut. It's like a scissors, rock, paper. Astronaut trumps war veteran, right? At least the kind that JD Vance is.
Let's not use the word Trump, but okay.
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
But
100%.
I think that again, I have said this so many times in so many spaces, and I'm going to say it again here. We have ceded so much to the right, including patriotism, right? Including our military experience, right? And our military folks. We have let them have that narrative for far too long. Like they're the ones that serve. No, they're the ones that take up guns and storm the fucking Capitol building. They are not the ones that line up to defend our nation in the way that we believe in defending the principles of democracy. So I think that it is important, and he is such a distinct character, Mark Kelly, from a JD Vance. And again, mop him up. He would mop him up in a debate.
I'm loving it. And we're coming to a close. And instead of showing you Donald Trump's boring rant on Truth Social, I think you can imagine it. I'm going to play us out with my favorite MAGA meltdown. And just enjoy, everyone.
Primary. People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertisements. And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden. Now they just woke up one morning and said, never mind, we're canceling the entire primary. We're getting rid of our candidate, and we're pretending the election has never even happened, and we're going to let donors handpick a new nominee. They're
Yeah, haha. We have not had our primary yet. For your final words, so much has happened in the last 48 hours. What are you watching out for? What do you predict, or what are you looking for before now and Thursday? Watch.
First of all, good job, Ashkenazi Mary. Excellent job. You've gone better and better and better over the past year. You're always good, but you've gone really good at it. So well done. Last thing I'll say is I want to see President Biden's speech. I want to see the type of tone he sets for the nation, for his legacy, for the last 3 months of his administration. I want to see how Kamala Harris and grassroots organizations mobilize this energy moving forward. And I also am looking forward to the meltdown of Trump and Vance. And one quick thing is, you could tell it's 3 days out that they had no plan for Kamala Harris. None. Political malpractice. I love it.
Brian, keep it tight.
You gotta watch. The Wednesday night speech from President Joe Biden is probably the key thing that we're going to have to watch going forward. I want to see the strategy that Kamala Harris puts into play in the next week. I want to see who her pick is. All of this has to be taken care of quickly before the DNC in August. If they do not present a united front in the DNC, they've got trouble. If they're able to put this at rest and go forward quickly, there is a very good chance that they will unseat and dismiss and get rid of forever Donald Trump, and then we can watch him be found guilty, sentenced to prison, inshallah, and sentenced to prison, and we will never have to see him again. That would be the greatest.
Praise the Lord. Danielle.
And pass the ammunition. Pass the cookies.
Yeah. That's a good. I'm looking forward to seeing the president speak on Wednesday night. It was a bold checkmate on checkmate on Netanyahu, which is just brilliant. So I love that already. I think that by the end of the week we're going to have a VP pick. And I think that that's gonna. I mean, guys, it's just Tuesday, so so fucking much has
just
happened.
July.
Right. It's just Tuesday, and it's just July 23rd. But we have lived 18 lives since Sunday. So I think that by the end of the week we could have a VP pick. So we'll be on the lookout for that too.
Well, I love all of this. Can't wait to see you guys again on Thursday. Have a great remainder of your Tuesday. It's Tuesday all day. And thank you all for joining us.